of. They were asked to be a part of it. How important was that in your decision, the lack of connection between Lovie Smith's staff and the high school coaches in Cincinnati?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that this single event was impactful on the decision. I do think certainly that recruiting was an area of concern as I studied the program. I do think we have an opportunity to build stronger connections with the state high school coaches, and that's something that will be important to us as we move forward.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Bob.
Jeremy, you're up. Go ahead.
Hey, Josh. What do you think your program needs most in a head coach right now? And did you learn anything from, the last couple searches you've had with Brad and with Lovie?
I think absolutely. We're always learning things. I think that we have a good plan in place to identify the next person. I probably won't reveal too many details. I don't want to give you our game plan, so to speak, but we've studied this extensively. We've given a great deal of thought to where our program is, what we think is necessary to move it forward. I think that there is a short but exciting list of viable candidates, and we'll work actively here over the next several days to engage with them and get a sense of whether there's a mutual connection. I think in general, again, I would just go back to the opportunity more than what we're looking for. I really think this is a great place, wonderful people, and I think the Illinois football program at this point is truly primed for success. I think we're at a point where, with the right leadership, with the right energy, we can see this program accelerate forward in leaps and bounds. And excited to talk with some people about what that vision could look like.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay, Colin, you're up, and then Joey, and then we'll have Shannon Ryan in the hole. Go ahead, Colin.
Josh, I know you mentioned briefly the recruiting side of things, specifically the signing day coming up here, the early signing period. With that period right around the corner, does that enhance the timeline for you or make you feel compelled, I guess, to speed that up in any way just to get somebody in place more quickly as these early signings are coming across?
Yes and no. I think certainly, despite our best efforts, I doubt we're going to have somebody in place by Wednesday. So yeah, I think that certainly the recruiting period is important. But what's really important is that we get the right person, that we attract the right coach. If all those roads are able to cross at the right moment and we're able to get somebody in place in a time frame that allows that person to have some interaction with our recruits during this signing period, so be it. If that doesn't happen, then it's more important that we take the time needed to get the right person here as our head football coach, and we'll give it the time that's required. So it's always a consideration, but these are long-term decisions, multi-million-dollar decisions, and we're not going to rush into them just to try and get somebody in place so that the recruits on Wednesday can know who they're dealing with. The good news is we do have obviously a second signing period in February. This early period's only 3 days long. It'll open Wednesday. We'll close Friday. And so if people are uncertain, they've got another window that they can wait and sign in February if that would make them more comfortable.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Okay, Joey, Shannon, and then Brett Behrens. Go ahead, Joey.
Hey, Josh, are there any assistant coaches who were on staff last week who won't coach this Saturday at Penn State?
Fair question. Miles Smith will not coach in the game on Saturday.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay, go ahead, Shannon, and then Brett Behrens.
Okay, hi, Josh. Just wondering, overall, with the importance of this hire, bringing stability to the program, there's been, through the last 10, 12 years, a lot of turnover there and trying to find the right person preceding you. But how important is it to get this one right for the program's longevity?
I wouldn't say it's any more important than it ever is. Certainly having stability and longevity in the football program at any Power 5 school, I think is really a critical component to its long-term success. And so I don't think that the stakes are any higher today than they ever are when you're in a position to go out and find a head football coach. But certainly that is the objective. We need to find somebody who can be a program builder, somebody who can build long-term, sustained success. I think that's one of the things that's a little bit interesting about the University of Illinois is that we're every once in a while we jump to the top and we're just not able to capitalize on that success, whether it's to the Sugar Bowl or to the Rose Bowl. And I think we have to find a way to not just get to the top, but build our way there incrementally, systematically, so that when we arrive, we have a strong foundation under us that allows us to capitalize on that success and even accelerate past it. And that really does only come through stability, longevity. And so that is certainly the goal as we head into this search process.
Okay, Brett Behrens, and then Matt Fortuna on deck. Go ahead, Brett.
Josh, how much did financial implications truly weigh into this with a budget that is already going to be in the red? Did you use private funds for this as a donor, or was this just come out of the general fund for you?
No private funds. We'll fund this through the athletic program. It is a challenging year, and that's been well documented. But again, we felt like given some of the contractual related items, both with Lovie and some of the assistants, that it seemed like either we could make the move now and endure a relatively modest short-term financial hit, or we could make a recommitment with ever more numbers of university resources and potentially put us at a greater risk with more exposure down the road. And just didn't feel as a steward of our resources and as someone who's responsible to the university for how we choose to use them, it was the right time to make this decision. And financially, I think it actually is the smarter of the two options.
Okay, Matt Fortuna, go ahead.
Hey, Josh, thanks for doing this. To go back to that first question for a bit, how important is it going to be for the new coach to tap into the local talent here and to make University of Illinois a place that high school football players around the state grow up, wanting to play for, want to be a part of? And then just to follow up on something you said in your statement, just to clarify, when you said you had made this decision after the Iowa game, was that communicated to Coach Smith going into yesterday's game, or do you keep that to yourself?
Yeah, so the first question, I think it's incredibly important. I think every flagship university in any state understands the importance of being the marquee destination, the destination of choice for players of talent in their state, in any sport, and certainly ever more so in football. And so it will be critical for us to connect well with the state high school coaches. It will be important for us to work to make the University of Illinois an attractive destination for their players, and to really open those lines of communication and make them feel comfortable and welcome here in Champaign-Urbana and around the University of Illinois football program. So that will be certainly high on the list, I think, of priorities for the new coach when they on board. In terms of the decision, I reached the decision over the course of last week. I did not discuss it with Coach until this morning. When you make these decisions, there's obviously the making of the decision, and there's the implementation process, and that comes with a lot of planning and timing. I didn't think it was fair. And by the time we felt that we were at a point to discuss it with Coach, it was in the days right before the Northwestern game. Didn't think that was fair or appropriate, and so wanted to wait until after that game was behind us and try and give the team as much time as possible, in this case a week before their final game, to adjust to the changes and handle it in the best way possible.
Okay, we'll go with Matt Stevens, then Scott Beatty, and then Bob Rosenthal. Go ahead, Matt.
Josh, my question is about the search that you're about to undertake. It would be naive to suggest that there won't be coaches, candidates out there that have red flags, whether they're on the field or off the field. My question is that do you feel like the university, your athletic department, is in a position where you don't have to compromise certain things for, red flags that you might find on a coach's resume or in his past when going through this search? And if I could get some details on how you might approach that kind of situation where you have to investigate a coach's background as you go through this.
There's a lot in that question. I think the short answer to that question is no, we don't need to compromise. We have the highest standards for integrity here at the University of Illinois, and there are a lot of really qualified football coaches out there who I think would walk over broken glass for the chance to coach at the University of Illinois. Our job is to identify them, recruit them and to select among them. And I don't think that we're at a point with our program where the candidate pool is so limited that we'll have to make those kinds of sacrifice or choices where we're picking somebody with some exceptional warts just because maybe quote unquote they're the best we can get. That's just not going to be our approach. And so I appreciate the nature of the question, but I feel strongly that we can find ample number of people who will fit the bill for us that don't come with some of the off the field issues that just aren't in line with who we are as a university.
Okay, Scott Beatty, then Bob Rosenthal. Go ahead, Scott.
Josh, do you have expectations for the next coach for style of play, be it schemes, be it what they run, or how they'll structure their staff, anything like that? Or are you open to whatever may materialize?
I don't. I want to win. I want somebody who's going to come in here and win football games, do it with integrity, and do it for a long time. And whether they do that with, whatever their offensive scheme is or their defensive scheme, whatever their staff might look like, as long as we're building the program, giving our fans, our alumni, our university something that they can be proud of, that they can be excited about. Those stylistic questions really aren't as relevant to me, and especially in a Power 5 football program. You have your head football coach, and then a lot of those stylistic questions are ultimately going to be left to the coordinators, and so they're going to go out and find coordinators who they think fit the style that they would like to bring onto the field. And so, ultimately, whether somebody's been a defensive coach or an offensive coach, whether they want to stand in as the coordinators or not. I mean, those are things that I'll talk to them about, certainly. But my approach has always been to be pretty hands-off when it comes to staffing. I'm going to talk to coaches about off-the-field qualities, certainly any integrity issues to the last question or things that are going to come across my desk. I've always felt like my job is to ask hard questions, to bring ideas, to push back. But ultimately, we're going to give these coaches a lot of deference to bring on people who they think are the right fit and the right people at this moment to help move the program forward.
Okay, we have time for a couple more questions. Go ahead, Bob Rosenthal. Gavin's on deck. Go ahead.
Yeah, Josh, you mentioned how this was a year of possibly either looking at an extension or possibly a firing. Was there a benchmark that you were facing with this year, given what it would have taken to give an extension, or was there a number of wins? You said you made this after Iowa. Was there a total of wins that you wanted to see before making this move?
There wasn't. Like I said, I think that the results on the scoreboard, although they're always important, you're trying to look more deeply into the program and understand what's causing those results. And certainly every situation is different, but we all recognize that when a coach is new to a place, you're going to give a little more latitude for them to develop their own process. And early on, that process may not yield immediate results at some point. However, the needle kind of flips to the other side, and those results ultimately speak to the quality of the process. And I think, and it's hard to say, there's no bright line that says, okay, in year 3, you're still on the process side, and in year 4, you're on the results side. Somewhere along the spectrum, however, that does flip. And I think certainly by year 5, we were into that results component of the equation. I would say, too, that even if there were any general ideas about, hey, we'd like to win this number of games or do this or do that during the season, once the pandemic really took hold, any of those ideas in terms of objective kinds of measurements really went out the window, and it became a much more subjective evaluation than it had to be. Just, again, the reality of trying to evaluate a football program in the midst of the health crisis we're in right now. And so that part has been a challenge, but again, feel that we've reached the right outcome.
Okay, we'll go Gavin and Bob, and that maybe wrap it up for the day. Go ahead, Gavin.
Hey, Josh, you've mentioned the tough circumstances with the pandemic. The players going through this right now, it must be really tough for them. Obviously, Chase Brown mentioned yesterday that there's been some pandemic fatigue among the players. What are these conversations between you and them like as they get ready to play a football game next week without their coach and still in these really tough circumstances?
Yeah, it's an incredible group of guys, and I just can't say enough good things about them. I doubt many people realize the sacrifice and the time that's gone into just putting them in a position to even be on the field this year, and the fact that they're being tested every morning at 6 a.m., 7 days a week. The fact that they're sometimes undergoing 2, even 3, even 4 tests in a single day, depending on the day and what we might have coming up in terms of a competition that weekend. The way that they've been moved around because of maybe players being removed for isolation or quarantine, and they're playing a lot of different positions. They're having to learn things on the fly. It has really been an incredible team effort, the way that they have collaboratively and collectively come together to continue to represent this university. And so I think part of the message to them has been, look, you've come this far. You've worked so hard. Let's see it through to its finish. We have 1 game remaining. We just learned this morning who the opponent would be, where it would be played. And a great opportunity to go play a good Penn State football team, to go into Happy Valley, a place we haven't been in a long, long time, and try and finish this thing off on the right note. After all you put into it, let's put just a little more and see it through to its conclusion. And we're fortunate here because we do have such an experienced, strong group of senior leaders on the team. They've been through an awful lot. I've been through an awful lot with them. And so it's, I think, given us some perspective and great confidence in their ability to keep the guys together and keep them focused forward as we work through this last week and then into the off season.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay, Bob, go ahead, and this will be the last question. Go ahead, Bob.
Josh, you're going to hopefully get fans back at the stands the next year. How important is in making this hire is going to be a coach that kind of rally the troops, a guy that will go out and meet all the fans and be omnipresent in the community and in the states for next year and going forward?
That's always a part of the conversation. Certainly, you want somebody. I always feel like you start internal to the building, and then you sort of move in circles out from there. And so, of course, our first priorities are going to be coaching acumen, is going to be the ability to relate to our student athletes, to build energy within the football program, to recruit and identify a great coaching staff. Then you work outward from that to recruiting, and then out into the community and into our ticket holders, our donors. And it's one of the challenges. Certainly, I experienced that in my position, but the head football coach does as well. All the different hats that he has to wear and the different constituencies we're involved in supporting and providing for a football program at this level. We have a very robust, energized, active group of alumni. Again, very proud to be a part of them. And that's another group that I think will be excited to visit with our new coach. And so we'll certainly evaluate on that front, along with many others, as we work through this process and as we onboard the new coach. Connecting with our community on a number of different fronts will be an important piece of that early to-do list.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Josh. Many of you will be talking to you tomorrow at 1:00 Central Time with Rod Smith. We'll also have a couple of players available after that. So many of you will see you tomorrow. That's all we've got today. This will conclude our press conference. Thanks, everyone.